Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is October 17th. Dodgers are one win away, and the Blue Jays even up their series. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? The ALCS and NLCS have been underway this week. We've got 6 games on the docket to look over, 3 for each. This will be the longest, the last time we have 6 or more games in a review in an episode, I guess. The season's coming down to an end here. We've got teams sitting 5 wins away, 6 wins away from their World Series wins. That's where we're at in the standings right now and at in the series. We are really cooking here. It really is getting to that point where it's like, hey, baseball. The World Series just around the corner here. With that being said, though, let's dive on into our series here. We're going to start with the NLCS. We're going to go there first and then head to the ALCS after that. So for the the NLCS, all over. It's just one letter, but it is kind of confusing. The Dodgers and Brewers, they got underway on Monday. Game 1, Aaron Ashby on the mound for the Brewers. He would open this game before Quinn Priester would come in and carry it over. He went 4 innings, 3 hits, had a walk, and no runs were given up. Very solid outing from him. But Blake Snell on the other end was just masterful. His best postseason start easily, and the most important one for him and the Dodgers. 8 innings, did not walk a batter, did not give up a run, struck out 10, and only had 1 hit allowed through 8. A pretty tame game before the bases were loaded and 1 out. The Dodgers had a huge chance, and Muncy drives one high and deep. Is it caught? Is it not caught? It stays in as Frelick makes a jump to try to catch it, but he doesn't catch it. But then he does end up catching it, but he throws it in. And then Teoscar gets tagged out at the plate, except he didn't get tagged out. It was just a force out, and everyone's confused. It's the most wild double play you have ever seen. An 8-6-2 double play. Frelick saves it from being a grand slam. The ball hits off the wall, so it becomes a fair ball. Frelick then throws it to Joey Ortiz, the shortstop, who then throws it home to get Teoscar on the force, and then William Contreras, still seeing the runner at second base, walks over, steps on third bag, and that gets you the inning-ending double play, the wildest play I have ever seen. The scoring in this one gets started in the 6th inning. Freddie Freeman launches a solo blast, and the Dodgers are up 1-0. And once again, this happened in the Phillies series with the NLDS against the Dodgers. The Brewers intentionally walk Ohtani to load the bases to face Betts, but then Mookie works a walk anyways. That scores a 2nd run, and it would prove pretty costly in this game because after Snell was gone for the 9th, the Dodgers almost blew the game. Brewers were able to get to Hiroki Sasaki. They have the bases loaded and 2 outs. They go to Blake Treinen. Out of all people out of that bullpen, that's the guy they go into. Before that, Churio had hit a sac fly to score a run. So it's a 1-run game, 2-1, bases loaded, 2 out. It's Bryce Terang versus Blake Treinen, and the Brewers leave the bases loaded as Blake Treinen strikes out Terang for the save. The Dodgers win game 1, 2-1, and lead the series 1-0, and that winning run of that game, the difference is the Mookie Betts walk. So if they were just able to get him to ground out or get the out, who knows how this game would have gone, and who knows how this series would have gone, because in game 2, Freddie Peralta was pretty okay for what he was asked to do. 5 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, had a couple of mistakes, did strike out 4, but Yoshinobu Yamamoto somehow, if I told you he was going to do better than Blake Snell, you wouldn't have believed it. He did. He went complete game. 9 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, and 7 Ks. That 1 run came on the first pitch he threw as Jackson Churio hits a leadoff home run. First pitch swing in, solo shot, Brewers get going. The Dodgers answer in the second. Teoscar gets a hanging curve from Freddie. Absolutely moonshots this one to left. That ties the game. Inning keeps going. Kike gets on base. Pages a double down the right field line. That scores the go-ahead run. It's 2-1. Max Muncy in the 6th inning, I believe. He hits a homer. No crazy double play this time. That one just gets over the wall, though. It's 3-1 Dodgers. They move on. Ohtani, an RBI single in the 7th. Edman, an RBI single in the 8th. And the Dodgers take both games on the road. They win it 5-1 and take a 2-0 lead in the series. We haven't seen back-to-back starters go 8+ innings since Madison Bumgarner and Tim Lincecum all the way back in the 2010 World Series. We have seen 15 years before we've seen dominance in the Dodgers starting pitching like we did the last couple days. Snell, Yamamoto, that was very impressive. Yamamoto, a complete game, the first one since Justin Verlander in the 2017 ALCS. I mean, absolutely brilliant stuff. The Brewers offense needed to wake up. They aren't able to score more than a run in a game yet, and I did that at home, so it's not looking good for the Brewers as we head now to Game 3. Ashby once again opened up, but he was not as solid as he was in Game 1. He got 1 out and allowed 1 run in before they had to go to the bullpen, essentially, but they got the bulk guy, Jacob Misiorowski, who was utter brilliant. He went 5 innings, 3 hits, gave up a run, and had 9 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers was nowhere near as good as Snell and Yamamoto, but was very solid for him. 5 2/3, 3 hits, a run, and 8 strikeouts. That's the starting pitching in this one. We got Ohtani in bottom of the 1st. He hits a triple out of the gate. Dodgers are in scoring position. Mookie bats a double. It's 1-0 after back-to-back extra base hits for the Dodgers. The Brewers, though, answer in the 2nd. Jake Bauers, an RBI single. That would tie the game at 1. We'd have a couple of innings of nothing before Tommy Edman comes through in the 6th. An RBI single puts the Dodgers back up. And then after that, the Brewers, with runners at the corners, they pick off Edman. They try to pick off Edman. The ball gets away. Freddie Freeman comes in to score on the error. It's 3-1 Dodgers. And that's the final in this one. 3-1 the Brewers. Again, for their 3rd straight game, cannot score more than a run. The Dodgers have a 3-0 series lead. They're 1 win away from back-to-back World Series trips. And to make matters worse for the Brewers, Jackson Chourio left Game 3 after being in pain during a swing. It's the 2nd time in the postseason that he's had to leave a game early with an apparent injury. Of course, the first one not affecting him too much, where he was able to keep playing, and he's been playing a very great brand of baseball. Yet here we are, great brand of baseball. It seems like he is somewhat hurt and has been playing hurt because the swing was a pretty normal swing. It didn't look like anything kind of tweaked majorly, but we'll have to see how it looks later on here. But that's what we're saying right now for Dodgers Brewers. Milwaukee, the best team in the NL. They were 6-0 against the Dodgers in the regular season. Dodgers are making up for lost time because they're 3-0 in the postseason. And if we're being honest, that's where it matters the most. And if I'm being honest with you guys, this series is over. There is no hope for Milwaukee. I don't care if they win the next 3. If this goes to a Game 7, the Dodgers will win. I have absolute faith from what I've seen from the Brewers this series versus the Dodgers. The pitching that LA has brought between Snell and Yamamoto specifically, but also to throw in the fact that Glasnow's been very good, and Shohei hasn't even pitched in this series. He pitches today in the do-or-die, Game 4 for the Brewers. Like, they gotta do it. They have to score more than a run. Are you kidding me? 1 run each game? Like, this is the powerful offense that we've seen from Milwaukee. Just put the ball in play, good things will happen. You get some runners, that's when the big hit happens. We haven't seen that at all. And in my head, as I'm watching the games, I want to fault the Brewers offense. Like, the Dodgers pitching is incredible. Yes, I'm not going to deny that this isn't the Dodgers just being the better team, but make it a series. I mean, this has been a pathetic showing. You got a chance to steamroll past the Dodgers or 6-0 against them in the regular season. Go and potentially win your first World Series. And the Dodgers have just shown up time after time, but it also feels like the Brewers haven't. The Brewers are still in their division series with the Cubs. Their minds are there. Like, they need to focus on the matter here. And to be honest with you, it just seems like a really tough mountain to climb. I mean, you got Ohtani for Game 4. If you guys do win that one, you got Game 5, which would most likely just be a repeat of Game 1. So you get Blake Snell, who threw 8 innings, and you only had 1 hit against them. You go to Game 6. If you somehow luck out against Snell, now you got to face Yamamoto, who was a complete game against you. And obviously, when you see a guy again and again, you do a little bit better. But yeah, you're asking Milwaukee to win 4 straight games, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So it's a matter of if, not when, or it's a matter of when, not if, the Dodgers will make it to the World Series. Dodgers, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Mariners, take your picks there, because that series, we'll talk about in a second here, has been very good. But this one, it just seems like it's a one-team effort. And, at this point in the season, when you're this late into it, you can't have a 3-game losing streak. You can't have that, when you're playing a best of 7. So Milwaukee, can they win 4 straight? Yes. No one's going to say they can't. But I can't see it happening the way this series has gone so far. And I feel really bad for the Milwaukee faithful who, thought that this was going to be a really strong year, that this was going to be a really good NLCS. I was thinking this was going to be a really good NLCS. When you think back to the one in 2018, obviously 2018, long time ago, and different teams and all that. But, I mean, this has been a really one-sided series, and it just feels like Milwaukee is just... They were happy to beat the Cubs. They were happy to be the best team in baseball during the regular season, but they didn't want to win the World Series, and the magic's gone for Milwaukee. And you know what? I mean, they got Game 5 today. They would have they have Game 4 today. They would have Game 5 tomorrow on Saturday. So if we're back on Monday being like, hey, the Brewers won the next 2 games, they're halfway there. Can they win the other 2? I'll be a little bit more optimistic. But again, I think by Monday, we'll have one series potentially over, and then one series, going for Game 7. Maybe both series are over. I don't know. We'll talk about all that. But yeah, Dodgers in control. Brewers on a lifeline and needing a miracle, and a big one badly, because their season is dire right now. Moving on here, let's get into the ALCS. The Mariners versus the Blue Jays. The Mariners up 1-0 in this series after taking Game 1 with a score of 3-1, I believe. I'm going to double check my my math there. Yes, the Mariners won 3-1 in Game 1. So we head to Game 2. The Blue Jays' powerful offense was dull in Game 1. They're looking for it to unleash in Game 2, and they're behind the Savage man, Mr. Trey Savage, who was nowhere as successful as he was against the Yankees. He went 4 innings, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, and 4 Ks. Despite that line, I still thought he pitched pretty well. He had like 4 or 5 pitches that didn't go where he wanted them to, and those 4 or 5 pitches were definitely making the difference in this game. Logan Gilbert went for the Mariners for Game 2. He had a short leash after pitching into some trouble in the 3rd inning. He goes 3 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, and 2 Ks, so it's more so a bullpen game here. First inning, a splitter that hangs nowhere where Trey wants it to go. And with 2 runners on, it's Julio to get the Mariners rolling. A 3-run shot, Seattle up 3. But the Blue Jays offense, they know what they need to do. They get right to work 2 runs in the first. Nathan Lucas, an RBI single. Alejandro Kirk, an RBI single. It's a 1-run game. The very next inning is another Nathan Lucas single. He's got 2 RBIs. And this game, after 2 innings, is tied up at 3. Trey gets 2 runners on, and John Schneider says that's enough. A quick herc from Schneider. People didn't like it, and to be honest, neither did I. In comes Louis Varland, and he gives up a 3-run homer to Polanco. The score goes from 3-3 to 6-3 as the Mariners get their second 3-run homer of the game. And from there, the Mariners bullpen holds the Blue Jays. The Mariners offense keeps on adding. J.P. Crawford, an RBI single in the 6th. Then the Canadian man, Josh Naylor, he goes deep in Canada. He loved the moment. A 2-run homer in the 7th. J.P. Crawford, a sac fly later in the inning. The Mariners take both games on the road. Similar to the Dodgers, they lead the series 2-0 and are heading back home with a big lead. This was a huge win for the Mariners. They outscored Toronto in the home series 13-4. Blue Jays offense was nowhere where it was against the Yankees, and that's definitely saying something because this is as we mentioned with the Brewers Dodgers, like there's no time for your offense to now take a hit. You had 4 really good games, one of which kind of you lost, but there was still offense in that game for the Blue Jays, where they're scoring 5+ runs in each of these games, and you wake up and you're down 2-0 in the series because you can't score runs. Your offense has let you down. It's not looking good for Toronto, and so far for 5 games. Well, the Dodgers actually, that was the first time a home team won a game. The Dodgers took the first 2 on the road from Milwaukee. Mariners took the first 2 on the road from Toronto. So let's see what the efforts are in for Game 3. We've got Shane Bieber versus George Kirby. Shane Bieber brought his best stuff. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, and 8 strikeouts. His second most strikeouts that he's gotten since coming back from Tommy John surgery since the start of his season this year when he came back. George Kirby, though, he got. The Jays offense finally woke up. He went 4 innings, allowing 8 hits and 8 runs with 3 homers. But it would start with Julio. Once again, he opens the game with a first inning bomb, a 2-run shot. The Mariners are up early. The fans are on their feet. Top third, the Blue Jays need a wake-up call. Andres Jimenez, the 9-hole hitter of all players, he hits the game-tying 2-run homer to spark the Jays. It's tied up at 2, and as the inning goes on, we get a wild pitch from George Kirby, which scores the Jays' run. That takes the lead, and then Varsho hits a ball hard off the wall. 2 more runs coming to score. It's a 5-run third for the Blue Jays. This was the inning they were waiting for, and from there, they tallied on. George Springer, a solo shot in the 4th. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a solo shot in the 5th. Ernie Clement, an RBI single still in the 5th inning. The Blue Jays add and add and add. The next inning, in the 6th, Nathan Lucas, a ground out. That scores a run. And then Alejandro Kirk belts another Jays homer, the 4th homer of the game for Toronto. A 3-run shot. And from 2-2 quickly, the Blue Jays make it 12-2 in a 3-inning span. We get to the 8th inning. Randy Rosarena, Cal Raleigh, they go back-to-back solo shot homers, but they're still down 8. The Blue Jays at a 5th homer. Addison Barger, a solo shot. The Jays get a big Game 3 win. The Mariners, though, still lead 2-1 in the best-of-7 series. The Blue Jays were incredible in this game offensively. 18 hits to score 13 runs. It's the 3rd time, the Jays are the 3rd team in the last 20 years with 18 hits in a postseason game. Both the other times were the Boston Red Sox, one in 2018, one in 2021, both of which were in the ALDS. So the Jays offense cruised in Game 3 in a game The Jays and Mariners combined for 8 total home runs. That's the record in MLB, tying record. There's 2 other times that happened. The last one happened in 2017 between the Astros and Dodgers World Series. It was Game 2. The last time we saw a combined 8 home runs leave the yard. Blue Jays offense, after being so quiet and so dead for 2 home games, it wakes up tremendously. The offense was cruising. Everything was good for Toronto, and they were now moving. And it felt like they had the momentum swing that they needed back, in Seattle on the road. Again, the last time these two teams met were in Seattle before the postseason. The Blue Jays swept them at home there. They won all 3 games. So far, the road team has won all 3 games in this series, but there is a 4th game to go to. Max Scherzer, old-timer vet, gets the ball for Luis Castillo for the Mariners, who gets a quick hook. He ran into some early trouble, and they say, that's it for you. 2 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, only 1 strikeout, because the Blue Jays don't strike out. Max Scherzer on the other end turns back Father Time. A historic start for him. 5 2/3, 3 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, but 5 Ks. Max Scherzer's best start since the start of September. We haven't seen him pitch since the end of September. He comes through in a big way, but Josh Naylor would get to him first. A solo shot homer. That starts the game off in the bottom of the 2nd. The Mariners are up 1. And then it's Jimenez, man. Jimenez is him. He does it again. A go-ahead 2-run homer would once again spark a Jays offense. Varsho, with the bases loaded, would end up walking, but the Mariners would hold the Jays from there. A big outs to get for Seattle. The Blue Jays up 3-1. The next inning with a runner on, George Springer, RBI double down the line. It's 4-1, and then a couple pitches later, a couple batters later, George Springer would score on a wild pitch from George Kirby. The Blue Jays are up 5-1. Eugenio Suarez gets the Mariners a run back. An RBI single in the 6th makes it a 3-run game, kind of close, but Vlad and the Jays kill that momentum. A solo shot homer for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That happens in the 7th inning. It's a postseason leading 5th homer for Vladdy and a new Jays franchise record for homers in a postseason, passing Jose Bautista at 4. Vladdy now at 5. The Jays are rolling. And then Andres Jimenez with runners at 3rd and 2nd. He gets a base hit off the pitcher's glove, and that goes into center field. 2 more runs score. The Jays get 8, and they win Game 4, 8-2. They are chilling. The road team has won all 4 games thus far, and between both championship series, the road teams are 6-7. 6-7. The Jays tie the series up 2 apiece, and from a best of 7, it now feels like a best of 3. A wild card series is upon us, and this series has been all but that. It's been wild as hell. All but that has been nothing but that, is what I meant to say there. Wild as hell. You got Mad Max Scherzer yelling at John Schneider. He comes out to get him in the 4th inning. He says, nah, man, I'm staying. I'm staying right now. Schneider walks away, gets the strikeout, gets through the 4th, would get 2 more outs in the 5th before getting pulled. It's Max Scherzer's first playoff win since Game 1 of the 2019 World Series when he was with the Nationals. And it was the first time in postseason history a pitcher made a start for a 6th different team. Scherzer had previously done it with the Tigers, the Nationals, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Rangers. And after his start yesterday with the Blue Jays, he is the only pitcher in MLB history to have a postseason start for 6 or more teams. Blue Jays roll. One thing that did come out of Toronto camp that was a little unfortunate, Anthony Santander was removed from the roster with an injury, and since that is the case, he is not eligible for the World Series roster if the Jays do win the series, and thus means that his year is officially over. Joey Loperfido is the man that will step up and replace him on the Championship Series roster. It's a tough blow for Santander and the Blue Jays. I mean, for Santander, it's a season to forget after a season to remember. He had a career year with Baltimore last year. 45 homers, got a nice little contract with the Jays here, and so far 1 year in, did not pan out. When he was healthy in that first month of the season, he was struggling. He usually struggles in the first month of seasons, though, before catching on fire. Instead of catching on fire, he caught a case of the IL stints and was on it for pretty much the rest of the season from that point until the end of the season. About mid-September is when he came back. Got in a couple games, didn't hit a home run, I don't think. A couple big hits, a couple RBIs here and there. Did have a big one against, big hit against Seattle in the series. But the injuries once again take over, and that will do it for Santander. So tough year for Santander. Hopefully a big bounce back next year, because otherwise that contract will start to look real bad for Toronto. But yeah, Toronto, as I mentioned, you go from getting outscored 13-4 in your home ballpark. You come back, Mariners score 6 in 2 games. Doesn't matter because you scored 21 in the 2-game span here. Of course, there is a Game 5 still to happen in Seattle. It's a big Game 5, and it happens today at about 6:30, I believe, is the time for that first pitch with the Blue Jays. Blue Jays Mariners at 6 o'clock today, 6:08 Eastern Standard Time. Brewers and Dodgers get their Game 4 underway at 8:38 Eastern Standard Time. You thought the season was over for Toronto. People were saying, oh, that's it. You fall down 2 games at home. There's no hope. Blue Jays offense erupts over the last 2 games here. And, I mean, they're in the driver's seat right now. They're in the driver's seat. There are 5 games that they've played at T-Mobile Park, and they've won all 5 of them. They've got Game 5 today in T-Mobile Park. Can they make it a perfect 6-0 on the road for them? And, hey, so far, 4-0 for the road teams in the ALCS. Blue Jays are feeling really good. They've got Kevin Gausman back on the mound again. And again, Gausman pitched really well in that first game. It just so happened that the Blue Jays didn't have any offense after that George Springer leadoff home run, similar to the Brewers in Game 2, where Jackson Chourio hit a leadoff home run. And then from that point on, Yamamoto threw a complete game. So, it's really interesting how these series have developed. I mean, you've got the Dodgers on one end who have just been absolutely brutal and dismantling the Brewers one by one. And then you have this Mariners-Blue Jays series where it hasn't been close. We haven't had a close game outside of Game 1. I mean, Game 1, you get a 3-1 win, but even that one didn't feel close because the Blue Jays had 2 hits. Like, it really wasn't, feeling like the Jays had a chance of winning that game. Otherwise, the next 3 games have all been blowouts. 10-3, that's a 7-run difference. 13-4. That was Game 2, right? 13-4, I believe. 13-4. That's a 9-run difference there, and then 8-2 is 6-run difference. So we have not had really save opportunities. The 8-2 game is the closest we've had to a save. 7 runs, 9 runs, 6 runs outside of that first game here. So I think this Game 5 is going to be a lot more dicier. I'm expecting like a 7-6 win, a 9-8, like a 1-run game with high scoring. I feel like that's just kind of the inevitable fate for Game 5 here, but this is a very exciting and very important game for both teams, and I feel like whoever comes out on top will, be taken over as the potential team to take on the Dodgers. I mean, regardless, a lot of people will be cheering for one of the Blue Jays or the Mariners if you don't like the Dodgers, or at least don't like teams who, win back-to-back World Series. I mean, that's what the Dodgers are in the case for, unless the Brewers can mount this incredible comeback. But we'll have to wait to see for that. But for now, we'll continue on here and get going into the next thing here. We've got some other news, starting with the fact that Mike Shildt is retiring as the Padres manager. He's had some pretty crazy quotes coming out when he's done his interviews for this, saying that he's lost a lot of hair and that sometimes he just wants to just go home and be with his family and have that. He had I think it was another year or two under his contract anyways, but he's done. So Padres will need a new manager. They are now the 8th team that will have a new manager right now. We have new 8 manager vacancies currently going on. So another new manager for a different team here. And the Padres are the only team that were in the playoffs who will need their new manager. We haven't seen anyone else get the boot or anything. We've seen that Rob Thompson is safe with the Phillies, they said. You'd assume that all the 4 teams, maybe Seattle, because there I think is an interim manager. I'm not sure with Dan Wilson, but Padres need a new manager. Mike Schilt gone. The other bit of news here is that we received our Gold Glove finalists. So I'm going to go through them all really quickly here because that's pretty much the end of the episode after this. Here, the Gold Glove finalists in the AL for pitchers. You have Luis Severino, Max Fried, and Jacob deGrom. For the catcher, Alejandro Kirk, Dylan Dingler, and Carlos Narvaez. At first base, you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Ty France, and Carlos Santana. At second base, Luis Rengifo, Marcus Semien, Andres Jimenez. At third base, you have Jose Ramirez, Ernie Clement, and Michael Garcia from the Royals there. Shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr., Taylor Walls, and Corey Seager. The left fielders, Wyatt Langford, Stephen Kwan, and Tyler Soderstrom. The center fielders, Kyle Isbell, Julio Rodriguez, and Cedane Rafaela. The right fielders, Adolis Garcia, Cam Smith, and Wilyer Abreu. And then from utility, we have Ernie Clement again, Mauricio Dubon, and then Daniel Schneemann. So those are your Gold Glove finalists for the AL. For the NL, we've got pitchers David Peterson, Matthew Boyd, and Logan Webb. We've got catchers Patrick Bailey, Carson Kelly, and Luis Torrens. First basemen Matt Olson, Bryce Harper, and Spencer Steer. Second baseman Xavier Edwards, Nico Horner, and Bryce Turang. Third baseman Ryan McMahon, despite being with the Yankees now, was with the Rockies, so he's eligible there. Matt Shaw and Ke'Bryan Hayes. Shortstops Mason Wynn, Nick Allen, and Mookie Betts. Left fielders Kyle Stowers, Ian Happ, and Tommy Pham, of all guys. Center fielder, you got Jacob Young, Victor Scott II, and Pete Crow Armstrong. In right field, you've got Sal Frelick, Corbin Carroll, and Fernando Tatis Jr. And then the utility position, Jared Triolo, Miguel Rojas, and Javier Sanjoja from the Marlins. Those are your Gold Glove recipients. And then from there, obviously, one would get crowned the Platinum Glove winner as well for each the AL and the NL. So that is the other news that we've got here. And that should bring us now to the end of the episode, really. But before that, we've got to talk about the upcoming games for the weekend here. So today, Friday, could be the last time we have more than a baseball game for the last stretch here, the last little bit of October. The Blue Jays and the Mariners, they play Game 5. It's a rematch of Game 1. Pitcher-wise, Kevin Gausman on the bump for the Blue Jays. Bryce Miller going again for Seattle. Was it beginner's luck? Was it not? I don't know. The game he pitched against them in the regular series, he got shelled for 7 runs. The game he pitched in Game 1, he was fantastic with 6 innings and only 1 run. Who are we going to get for Game 5? That's the question. It was also announced that Brian Wu would be available out of the bullpen for Seattle. That's the plan apparently going forward for the rest of this series and potentially the World Series, of course, coming off an injury. So we haven't seen him yet in the series. Not sure if we will see him today or not. But it will be starting Gausman versus Miller. And then after that, Brewers and Dodgers in LA. Game 4. The Brewers are TBD. Who's going to start? It won't be Freddie. It won't be Quinn. It won't be Mizorowski. So, who gets the ball? Is it Jose Quintana? I have no idea. No matter who ends up going for the Brewers, they'll have to deal with Shohei Ohtani, who will make his first home postseason start of his career. And that's a tough beat already. And you got to win. But hey, if the Brewers are going to win 4 straight, it starts with 1, and it starts today. Milwaukee needs to get a win, and they would need to continue that into tomorrow, Saturday. There's only 1 game on the docket. It is Milwaukee at LA. Once again, that's a Game 5 question mark, because of course if the Dodgers win today on Friday, there would be no baseball on Saturday, which sucks. Who doesn't like no baseball? Regardless of the winner of Game 5 between the Blue Jays and the Mariners, there needs to be a Game 6 because that series is tied up 2-2, which means Game 6 will happen on Sunday back in Toronto. Guaranteed a game in Toronto between the Mariners and the Blue Jays. That, of course, is TBD versus TBD. I would expect it to be a similar rematch to Game 2, being Trey Savage for the Blue Jays. And then, not George Kirby, who went for the Mariners in Game 2. Logan Gilbert went for Game 2. I'd expect that to be a similar matchup. Maybe if Brian Wu doesn't pitch on Friday, maybe he does get a start and pitches Game 6. And then, potential Game 7, you have Castillo out of the bullpen. You could start Gilbert. You'd have Kirby out of the bullpen. So there's options there for Seattle and what they want to do. But a Game 6, that will be very important because that will be a game where one team can move on and eliminate the other, or it could force that Game 7 on Monday, which would be the story when we have the episode on Monday. But regardless, guaranteed 3 games this weekend with the potential for a 4th. And we'll be talking about all of that and more on the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here today. I appreciate you all for tuning on in. The postseason in full swing, and the World Series is just around the corner. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you on Monday.